So this is the custom block in Rise. You can see it's really like an SVG builder tool. Once I hit preview, that block, custom block, it becomes an SVG image. And if you've worked on enough websites, you probably know SVG images, they just scale down. So even though our custom block has editable text inside, it's not responsive like the rest of our course. And I'll just show you what I mean by that. If we go to, I'm going to use a much smaller viewport just to preview what's going on. We can see this is still my regular text, which is the default 17 pixels. But look what happened to my custom block. The text has become probably half that size. And so that's immediately going to fail in accessibility testing just based on the size of the text. But what I've done, using a theme component, I've made it responsive. So now I've got two different layouts. This is the desktop optimized, and it uses it for most of the viewports. But once we get to the smaller mobile viewport size, it changes. It's actually just swapping two different custom blocks. I'll show you what's going on. What I did, I actually just have two of the custom blocks. One is mobile optimized, the top one is desktop optimized. And my theme component, all it's doing is hiding one or the other based on viewport size. So if I turn this back on desktop, it's hiding that mobile optimized one. But if I go into, let's go into edit this one, you can see if I edit what I've done, I've shrunk the canvas size of this mobile optimized one. I kept the font size the same, but by making the canvas size much smaller, it's not going to scale down as much on the mobile devices. And then if we look at the CSS I'm using, it's pretty simple. Just by default, we are using the block IDs. By default, I'm hiding the mobile optimized one. And then once we hit this breakpoint, or I'm using a media query to reverse the hiding of the mobile optimized block, and then hiding the desktop optimized block. And just to show you how the media queries work, if we want, what I could do here, so this is my media query, max width, basically 480 pixels. I'm just going to write a real generic style. I'm going to have all my divs have a 1 pixel red border on it, but only once I hit underneath that 480 pixel size. So if I'm previewing, I can preview that breakpoint easily in Rise. So I just restyled my whole course with this 1 pixel red border. That's all the media query is doing. So you can essentially redesign your entire theme based on the size of people's devices viewing your course. But in this case, all I wanted to do was display my mobile optimized one and hide my desktop one on mobile devices. and then it's reversed on the larger views. And Articulate is actually admitting that that is a bug. There's been a couple of people posting about it on eLearning Heroes. They say custom blocks not displaying as expected, logged as a bug. So they're calling it a bug, which I'm kind of surprised at. They don't like to admit things are bugs, but that generally means they are actively working to fix it. But it's kind of weird. I think if you ask the product team if they knew they were building a bug into the custom block, or what it probably should have been called is the SVG builder block. If you asked them, did you know you were building a bug into that? They'd say, no, we just built the SVG builder and it works as expected. Everyone knows images just scale down, same way a video scales down. All images, they just scale down. They're not, the text isn't responsive. Also, storyline, all it does is scale down on mobile. The problem is they didn't tell people they were just building SVGs. They called it the custom block, but they didn't tell people that it wasn't going to be responsive, because a lot of people have switched from Storyline to primarily using Rise for the reason that it is fully responsive and it will pass most responsive and accessibility QA testing, but not the custom block. So people were building in unresponsive elements of the page. They didn't even realize it. I think to go back in time, they could have solved that by just admitting that this is an SVG builder. It's not like the rest of our text in Rise. It is a special element. You can do whatever you want with it, but it's not responsive. So that's why I think what they're going to need to do is what I've done here. And there was someone, I should give them a shout out. They actually described exactly what I did and used a media query to hide one or the other of these. So I think what Rise is doing is just going to modify their interface for the SVG builder and include different viewports. So you're going to want to have at least 2 viewports specified to give a better mobile experience. And a simple thing you might say is just make the text bigger on mobile views. And so something like this, like you can have a really complex infographic, just making the text larger, that your text is eventually going to start running into other labels. So that's why I think you're going to need to have the control over having two separate views like this. And if you need this functionality today, you can use a theme component, just a couple lines of CSS you add to your course. And I'll show you. This is how I organize my files. If you go into SCORM content, let's say this is a SCORM export. You go into SCORM content, and I make a folder called theme, and then I put custom.css. And then in index, we do need to link to custom.css. And then this way, let's say I have some other courses where I need to duplicate this code. I can do that easily, but keep in mind, we had to get the block ID to narrow in on the CSS to target certain blocks. So this is one piece of CSS. I probably should have named it, responsive text message view .css. But because this is going to be particular for this certain course, based on the block IDs. Every block, by the way, has its own block ID. That's why we're using that in the CSS to zero in on those specific elements by the block ID. So can you make responsive SVG graphics? That would be very difficult. Probably what Articulate is probably working on is these additional views if you are working on a custom block and need those responsive views to have larger font sizes like the rest of your course.